Half-Life is a game that needs no introductions, but this is a YouTube video, so I have to write something. I've never actually played this game, but I am an adult with refined taste, so I want to. That way I can understand why so many people put on the good knee pads for Mr. Freeman. Yes, I stole that joke from Civvy, like I said, refined taste. Also, I'm playing the original because if I don't, a bunch of mid-40s sweaty men will assault my comment section with the verbal equivalent of taking X-Lax and eating 6 7-layer burritos from the Bell. With that said, it's time to see, can I beat Half-Life with only the crowbar? Our journey begins in Black Mesa, New Mexico, because where else would alien stuff go down except New Mexico? Now, I have heard stories about the legendary setup to this game, the tram opening. Why is it so legendary? I mean, we just stand here and listen and ride the train. I like trains, I guess. Obviously, I don't have the context of being able to properly play a computer game in 1998, or maybe back then this was the peak of entertainment. You know, right up there with watching paint dry. That was a joke, Valve diehards, please don't track my IP address. I just literally don't have anything else to say about a 5-minute train ride. When I do finally arrive at the highly classified government facility, I conduct myself in a manner most fitting of a highly intelligent MIT grad. That is to say, I get behind the desk and set the alarm off. That's the thing that Half-Life is known for, right? Being a pioneer of the first-person linear set pieces with high interactability. I'm only a little older than the game itself, so I didn't get to experience it at the height of its popularity, but I can say, I can understand why everyone likes it. Oh, there it is, boys. The suit. The thing that turns your average Gordon Freeman into Super Freeman, hero of, alien scientists. Oh, I see we got a Mesa pod update with them sick EDM tunes. A joke, but this little bit of music was actually kind of like a bop. It's also like the only song I remember hearing in the game. Okay, enough diddle-dallying. I didn't sit through a 5-minute train ride to make you all sit through 5 minutes of me talking about Freeman and his orange jumpsuit and new age music. So, down at the lab, I am told some things are going to be a little bit different than standard procedure, but I'll be fine. I am a trained professional after all. I push a big button and cause a laser light show. One of my colleagues warned me that there were some abnormal readings, but as quickly as they appeared, they are back to normal. I don't know how Freeman is feeling because he never emotes at all, but if it were me, I would request a second opinion. But I suppose that's just the difference between us, as Freeman carried on like normal, and as we all know, things did not go according to plan. What's the deal with teleportation food, am I right? The title of this chapter is Unforeseen Consequences, which, yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate summarization of events, right up there with, oh shit's fucked. So I don't really know what the intent of pushing a huge piece of topaz into a laser was, but I'm sure it wasn't cause the facility to explode and bring about an alien invasion. I'm told, or at least it's implied, that the reason I lived was because I was wearing the hazard suit, which is fine, but like, I'm pretty sure I'm not wearing a helmet, so like, radiation only attacks from the head down? Whatever, it's a game. A masterpiece, right, I should suspend my disbelief. Aw, so cute, it's gonna- I bit my face! There she is, my best friend for the next however many hours while I try to get topside. Hold the elevator, I need to go down too! This is gonna happen a lot in this run, isn't it? At first, I was concerned thinking that the crowbar would be horrible. Yeah, it's kinda not. Well, it kinda definitely is, but for the zombie scientist, it's extremely useful, attacking at like 17 swings a second. It helps that this is back in the era of games where the enemies had this dance. You just get in and get a couple swings, then back out and they miss. Repeat until one of you is lying on the floor regretting your life choices like you just went to college for philosophy. Or theoretical physics, apparently. Originally, I was gonna make a joke about throwing the alarm to help, but I actually think I disengaged it, so don't worry everyone, the situation is under control. I'm just gonna duck into this room and It's gonna be a theme in this game to have headcrabs jump at me from unavoidable directions, isn't it? Fortunately, there is a health station in this room to restore 40 points of health. In this case, enough to get me right to 100. Oh look, a gun! Well, into the abyss with that one. Here I meet the next enemy, apparently called a houndai. They are, dogs with a butthole for a face who scream at you until they explode. They're pretty easy to deal with, just get close and whack them. You can finish them off before they're done charging up, but it doesn't really work out so well as they usually come in packs, so when you finish one, a second one explodes. Or they like take a hit and jump away, just prolonging their existence. Either way, not really a threat. Gee, man, you just gonna stand up there and watch, not help at all? I found a scientist here, but I accidentally fat-fingered my mouse and hit him with my crowbar, and that must have knocked something loose because he started twerking and This game is peak. I'm so sad I missed out on it until now. I don't know why I expected something else to happen. The game isn't done showing off its new enemies because soon I also encounter a Vortigaunt. These guys have a hit scan, I think, lightning attack, but it can be avoided by breaking line of sight or by breaking their jaw with my crowbar. They aren't really difficult to deal with either, and honestly at this point I was thinking I was in for another easy run. Also, I made sure not to drag the collective IQ of the base down on this rerun, just had to write that wrong. Which is doubly good because apparently he can open this armory room. I swear that was unintentional and just a happy accident of keeping him alive. I also found another scientist hiding in a dumpster, and I could make a joke about how all that schooling and education just gets you thrown away by society, but instead I'll just say, relatable. I too would probably hide in a dumpster if a dog with an asshole for a face was trying to turn me to Jib. I have to solve the first of many valve puzzles here, but I use the term puzzle insultingly as I just have to turn this to raise the water and then swim out. It's less a puzzle and more a learning experience so players can understand that they can turn the valves. Good work, Valve, your valves work. Man, what is it with Gordon and missing elevators? I do like this part though because I think you're supposed to like fight the headcrabs as they fall, but if you just stand out of the way, they keep going. They don't lose their momentum when they hit the elevator, they just kind of skate straight to the bottom of the shaft. Speaking of learning tools, this is one right here, and I never learned it. Basically, you can break the sides off the crate to get in, or more importantly, get through them. We're introduced to the next two enemies together. That angry alligator thing over there is a bull squid. It can spit acid and tail whip, but it doesn't lower your defenses, it just gives you a concussion. The other, and far, far less problematic enemy is the barnacle. It hangs from the ceiling and eats anything that touches its tongue. Presently though, neither of them are an issue. The bull squid is across some green flavored water and preoccupied with the head crabs, and the barnacles are only ever an issue if you get caught, which just don't. Surprisingly, the green water isn't irradiated, and I just lazy river down the way with what I will tell myself are a handful of Snickers bars. Why did I do that? Why did I try to smack the latch securing this box to a rope over the pit of instant death? Am I stupid? Well, whatever. I platform my way across, then hop onto an elevator bound for the next chapter, Office Complex. Office Complex feels less like an office and more like a school cafeteria, complete with like the cool lounge area that all the rich schools got. I throw a switch which turns off the electricity, letting me cross this little hallway. I then pick up a totally worthless shotgun and watch the security guard go clubbing. I don't know if there was another switch to turn off this electrical wiring, but if there was, I never found it, instead just deciding to tank the damage. Okay, well, I walked into that one. This room has a turret, which I stupidly tried to use a wooden box for cover from, but don't worry, Jeff the scientist decided to use his face as a distraction. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Alright everyone, let me introduce you to Barney. Now, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure if that was like a specific security guard's name or just a joke by the community. I mean, obviously I heard it from Civy's videos, but apparently he's actually called that because he looks like Barney Fife, a character played by Don Knotts on the Andy Griffith Show. Honestly, I don't see it. Regardless, he isn't bound by the crowbar restriction like I am, so anytime I run into Barney, I ask him to tag along, even though this one shoots me in the back right after I meet him. I'm then ambushed by a group of Vortigons. Barney, you know what to do! Your evaluation is over, Barney. I'm marking you as not a team player. Alright, Jeff, follow me. It's for science, Jeff! You understand? This is the point where I started to feel the restrictions of only a crowbar. Vortigons aren't particularly hard to deal with when alone, but this level has a lot of them and they're all clustered together in groups. This means that if I approach one, and regardless of if I am able to kill it or not before it attacks, its buddy will turn me into a lightning rod. I ended up down to 50 health and no armor before making it out of this section. Fortunately, nearby was Barney and another health station. Unfortunately, I took some fall damage and head crabs to the face, so I'm right back where I started. Alright, well, clearly AI wasn't the thing Valve was trying to showcase with this game. Well, I'm here, I might as well beat my meat. No! Yes. Something I want to say real fast is if it looks like I'm, I don't know, running with a purpose, that's because I am. In my original recording, my solid state was nearly full, so OBS got angry and made my footage look, well, like a 2-slide PowerPoint. This happened twice in the run, so I needed to go re-record it. What you're seeing now is Gordon 2.0. Jane, put something in the corner to denote that this is the second recording. I only bring it up because you might notice my health being all over the place. I knew if I didn't explain it, you'd all ask. Now that I think about it, ask anyway. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. You're lucky this is one of them crowbar-proof glasses. These look dangerous. Oh no, explosion. Then they're fine. Nothing bad happened, right? Right? Okay, those ones look more like the explodey kind. Let's not step on that. Remember the 5 Ds. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, displode. Ooh, wait, that's not right. Alright, military here to save us. Why are you shooting me? Everything in this run was all fine and dandy until now. The level, we've got hostiles. And the introduction of these assholes. The Hazardous Environmental Combat Unit Soldiers. These guys are hit scanners with a trigger finger. And as you can see, my first real run-in with them did not go good. I had hoped that I could, like circle around them and hit them with my crowbar, but that did not happen. So I just deployed the second tactic of run away very fast. Alright, I literally walked into that one. After not getting atomized by a trip mine, I find a first aid station and an HEV charging station, basically an armor recharge. I went into the next big room with 100 health and 14 armor. I left with 14 and 0. I'm telling you all this to say that these guys are an absolute nightmare on this run. A single one is enough to take me out, but they always show up in groups and it's absolutely brutal. In the very next room there are more of them and I had to wait for the elevator to go up. You know what's slower than bullets? That's right, an elevator! To get past it, I had to jump from the railing, land on a box, push the button to open the gate, and just pray that no soldiers rounded the corner before the bottom of the lift had moved above their gun barrels. And do you know what's at the top of the elevator shaft? That's right! More soldiers! Surprisingly though, I actually survived this part on my first try. I don't know, got lucky and dove straight into the bunker and it happened to be safe. There's even a health and recharge station here, and believe me, you're going to need it because as soon as you open that door, some more soldiers come rappelling down from an osprey, and they are out for blood. Yeah, I died here. But I did manage to get through on my third attempt, basically throwing myself down the hole faster than they could rappel, which led to a vent system, one that I kind of hated design-wise. So these vents kind of loop around the level a bit, and that's fine. It lets you get a sneak peek of what's to come. The part that I hate is that there are turrets ready to turn you into Swiss cheese anytime you pop your head out. So like, you're not really rewarded for crawling around here so much as you are tempting fate. Do you want that extra magazine? Well, hope you can outrun 50 caliber fun times. I can't complain too much because there is a safe room with some actual supplies and altogether it's not necessary. What you're supposed to do is climb down this ladder near the beginning of the vent system that is very, very danger close to an instant kill fan that I somehow managed to slip past on my first try, no problem. After another very long vent, I pop out to an earlier section but in a room where I can now open up the big silo doors. A nearby scientist tells me I need to use the old decommissioned rail system to head to the Lambda complex. This begins the chapter Blast Pit, which starts slowly enough. Head crabs, zombies, a bull squid, yeah, I can handle those. So, does this thing have emergency brakes? I'll tell you right now, I never actually figured out what the Squidbilly dance is. Sometimes I could easily circle them and dodge their tail swipe attacks, other times it would perfectly spin to hit me. I don't know. It was a gamble that I usually won, but sometimes it bit me. Literally. That hound eye is stuck between those explosive barrels. I don't know if it's like designed to be stuck there or not, or if it's just a glitch, but it doesn't really matter because their scream also triggers the explosion. What? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. There's some kind of loud banging. Just stay here, I'll go check it out. You know, on second thought, I'll wait outside. Barney here tells me to be very quiet, which is great advice because if that thing connects, it basically vaporizes me. That being said, I didn't listen to his advice and I just sprinted through the area, which I almost made it. Almost. So what that scientist before was saying is that you need to fire the test rockets, which are conveniently positioned right above the tentacles. In order to do that though, I'll need to restore fuel, oxygen, and power. Essentially meaning I have to sneak around this thing until I'm ready to cook it. Unintentionally, I went to the very bottom first, which was the way to restore power. I rode an elevator down, which was stupid as 9 out of 10 elevators in this game have not worked for me. But it's okay because this scientist administered a dose of green skittle liquid that healed me right up. Next step was to avoid what I assume would be instant death if that spinning platform hit me, climb up a couple ladders, push 2 buttons, and voila! Power is restored. This next part, I am not sure, it could have soft-locked the run. I had to fall off this ledge to land back on the original platform. Now, there might have been a safe way down, but I'm also aware that the game is from a time where developers didn't really think like that. You don't have enough health? Tough luck, do it again, but better. Regardless, I have returned to this section with only slightly less health than what I started with. Now it's onto the fuel and oxygen section. That might be a problem. Or it would be if Gordon didn't moonlight as an acrobatics instructor. This part is crawling with zombies, but it's nothing I can't handle. Jane, why are you showing that? Come on, I'm trying to impress the people here. You gotta climb down this massive silo thing and push a button to restart the turbine, then not get chopped to pieces by it on the way out. It moves slow enough, so that's probably not an issue. Once you've done that, throw yourself into the fan. No, I'm not joking. According to all known laws of aviation, the Gordon Freeman shouldn't be able to fly, yet he does. No, really though, that thing is hardly spinning. I don't think it can lift a piece of paper, but hey, whatever. After some more alpha among us, we can pop out of the vents to the control room, beat up some zombies, then throw the switch to open the fuel and oxygen pipes. With that done, we can finally return to the control room, throw the big red switch, and burn that mother down. Well, gee, I sure hope that the Barney who was standing next to those highly explosive crates when that rocket went off is okay. Oh cool, a magnum I can't use. Thanks game. I then take a leisurely swim in some water, which I wasn't even supposed to do. I was supposed to climb on some pipes and navigate that way. Oops. Then I spent way too long trying to jump across this gap and not lose any health. It's funny, in my original attempt, I actually did somehow manage to make it across without getting hurt after like 20 jumps, only for the game to have a scripted falling section that almost killed me. That last part was true here too. Oh, you look mean. I'm just gonna go, okay? I sprint by a couple grunts and now onto the worst part in the run. Well, worst part so far. There are many grunts, many grunts, all of them ready to end my life. I was able to dive into this little bunker thing in the middle and it has a health station, but like, this does not solve my problem at all. At first I thought, what if I waited and just let them come to me and I bludgeoned them to death? Great idea, except the first guy to show up took me from full health to like a quarter, so that plan was out the window. No, really the only thing I could do was run and hope for the best. But when I rounded the corner, I knew I was in for a bad time. So this is the part of the run where I thought that there was no way this was possible. This place is just crawling with grunts. They're everywhere and every single one of them is itching to shove their gun barrel right where Gordon's sun doesn't shine. I honestly thought this was hopeless until I accidentally dove over the railing and somehow didn't die. We take those, as long as I don't have to run through that again. The basement is flooded and with that water comes leeches because, you know, of course it does. These little things are hard to hit with a crowbar but don't do much damage. The point of being down here is to break these boxes, which clears up the sunk pump to do its job, which in turn lets you throw the switch to power the generator. Nice, okay. Now what? Ugh, some tripwires and grunts. Wait! Maybe I can use this against them. Haha, stupid. Now, what's up here?
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Yeah, so this elevator leads up to the section with the bazillion grunts from before. It's not a good time. Every elevator in this game is pain. There was no shot I was going to be able to fight my way out of this one. I mean, one guard is enough to nearly kill me, but like 15 of them all packing machine guns and explosives? Yeah, no, it ain't happening. But what can I do except try? Over and over and over. I kept making it back to this bin, which if I could clear would let me be home free. With perfect jumping skills and a little bit of luck, I knew I could do it. And after like 20 tries, I got it. One of them threw a bad nade, forcing the surrounding ones to, turtle up, I guess. Meaning that they weren't shooting me, and it killed the two directly in my path. I then flung myself over the railing and managed to make it around the corner without being gunned down from behind. 23 health, baby, living on a prayer. But this was out of the frying pan and into the oven. I am now faced with a turret and a lone grunt. And I didn't save. The game took pity and it only took 2 more attempts to get back here, but this time I had 7 health, which was a big problem. See, the turret is easy enough to avoid. It's the dude standing directly in the doorway that is the issue. It is impossible for me to defeat him. Of course, he could easily kill me, but even if he decided to forget his training and just stand there while I beat him to death, the turret will gun me down while I try. This is a lose-lose situation. I thought it was the end of the run. You know, again. And even if I managed to slip by him, I'd still need to waste time climbing down the ladder, at which point he would easily be able to dome me. Heck, he could shoot off my pinky toe and it would kill me because of the small amount of health I already have. I hoped maybe I could trick him into checking out the sound of me hitting the wall, but no luck. So there I was, just throwing myself at him over and over, hoping to slip by and land on the platform below, preferably near the door so I can get in cover fast. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I had 7 health. Even if I managed to get by him, I think the fall would kill me. To test, I busted out the Magnum, dispatched the foe quite easily, and died to fall damage. There it was, the end of the run. I mean, I suppose I could load a save from way back and hope to have enough health to survive, but was I really gonna do that? No, I wasn't. Haha, what? Did you think I'd give up that easy after all this? Nah, we in it. For whatever reason I cannot explain, but on this particular attempt, after I hit him in the dick with my crowbar, he bolted. Of course, I immediately save and noticed the health station. He kept doing this weird run-in and place a grenade, so I kept getting more health. This worked until I accidentally backed off the ledge and broke my ankles. Check out this awesome strat I came up with though. Boom, dive to the ladder, climb up, take cover, 3 health, I didn't hear no bell. With the electricity back, I was able to rotate the platform. The train was not on it, but hey, baby steps. Problem number 2 is that there's no power going to the track. Oh, also the giant flamethrower having armored Godzilla thing. Yeah, he's kind of an issue as well. I sure hope this 50 armor protects me. Well, I can't say I didn't see that coming. Surprisingly, the fall from this 2nd story window did no damage. Then I was able to just sneak by him, no issues. This leads me to the track power switch, and I'm going to tell you all something. I rewatched Civi's video after this run, and he said you can lure that Gargantua down here and throw the switch to jib him. You wanna guess what I didn't do? My first try at this, I pushed the cart out, then barely escaped with my life. After throwing the switch, I lured him as close as I could to the door, which wasn't very close. Then I threw myself out the window and attempted to make my daring escape. I'll just let this play and you can feel the roller coaster. Second try, I ended up bringing him down the hallway and somehow managed to slip by him without turning into a puddle of mush. Then I put the cart on ramming speed and hoped that it would kill him. It did not. So now there is a big angry man at the end of this hallway waiting for me. Or was there? Yeah, he's just gone. We take those. Time for on a rail, and would you believe me if I told you that you had to spend the whole level on a rail cart? Well, you don't have to, admittedly, I don't, but that is the concept. First thing you gotta do is find a way to raise this claw, and you can see a control room right up there. Good environmental design. I don't know why I'm still praising this game, that way everyone and their mother knows it's a good game. This level loops around on itself a lot, which is good because it means I don't have to actually stop the cart. I can just jump from it, and then when I'm finally ready, wait for it to spin back around and pick me up. This is where I learned turrets are not immune to the crowbar. Good information to have, but really it's about the same as taking out a grunt. It's just not a trait in my favor. Anyway, I throw the switch, then patiently wait for my ride. Any minute now. Well, that was a fun break, back to being bent over by the grunts. This section killed me many times. You are on a slow-moving elevator and the grunts might as well be shooting fish in a barrel. In the end, I found that the trick was to jump off the cart and use it for cover, then dive into the first opening and off to the right. Ideally, the grunt will go to you, but in this attempt he didn't, so I just brought the pain to him. Thankfully, there's also a hell station down here. Oh cool, they've got impact grenades now, awesome. Well, I'm not dead at least. I jump on the cart and once again put it in ramming speed and watch as that grunt becomes a KFC family-sized bucket of chunks. This level features a lot of fighting between the aliens and the soldiers, which is a really cool thing. Did games do this before Half-Life? I don't know, but I always love to see it. I thought I would take the opportunity to take out the lone grunt, and I did, but boy was it a mistake. Second time I went down the alien side and encountered two grunts protecting an HEV station. Fortunately, if I wedge myself in a corner, they can't shoot me. Okay, what if I try just riding the cart? I made the big brain play to start up the cart and hop off and let it tank the explosions for me, and it worked. But immediately I'm faced with another problem. This bend with two grunts opposite the exit. I tried multiple things, from just booking it, trying to make them feel bad for me, and taking them out all sneaky like. None of it worked. I actually loaded an older save so I could have a bit more health, and eventually I was able to see around the corner, and oh, the horror I saw. Many grunts and vortigons directly in my path. Oh no. What happened next though, I couldn't believe. I actually managed to slip into the corridor, but not only that, because the two factions were preoccupied, I somehow managed to just run by them. But without knowing where to go, I ultimately backed myself into a corner. You can't escape my crowbar of justice, grunt! I'm coming for you! There's a hallway here with 3 trip mines and what appears to be a dead end, so I did the only logical thing. This time around I find a hell station, but by the time I cleared out the aliens that had followed me, I was left with 1 HP and absolutely no dream of making it through. I tried the final path, this boarded up room, and to my amazement, Barney was here, just chilling. Hopefully he could help me. All I needed to do was make sure I got over there with enough health, easier said than done. As you'd expect, Barney here quickly went down in the line of duty, but he did his job, distracting and picking off a couple of the enemies so I could sprint to the hell station. Which is where I realized there was a hole in the ceiling from the head crabs. Unfortunately, it wasn't the way forward, but it did have 45 points worth of armor, and I'll take that. With renewed life, I sprint through and actually tried to open the door, and I knew I was home free. Thankfully, it's possible to just crouch walk underneath these, but if you thought that was the end, nope, there's a grunt with a machine gun who can shoot through the grated floor. It never ends. Gordon just can't catch a break, can he? More lasers that I can duck under and not hit scanner, so standing on this moving cart is enough. There's also a grunt with a rocket launcher. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how he missed that first shot, but if you just crouch, he can never hit you. Do make sure to disembark before the explosives stop, however. So, you remember before when I said vorts weren't that hard to deal with unless they were in groups? Yeah. At this point, I had made a decision, one that I wasn't sure would even be allowed. I left the cart behind. Sure, there was probably a way to raise the gate and continue riding it, but hit scan and lightning blasts are a pretty strong deterrent. Shortly thereafter, I did find a grunt packing some TNT, so it's a good thing I abandoned the cart after all. Also, a military checkpoint with probably some health and ammo, but for me, just death, so I continued on my way. But now we've come to the actual end of the run, and allow me to show you why. My path is blocked by several explosive crates that are not physics objects, so I can't push them around, and there's nowhere to crouch jump. I had hoped beyond hope that my crowbar wouldn't ignite the black powder inside, but that was a fool's dream. This actually didn't occur to me while playing, but with the power of editing hindsight, this track ends on one of those elevators I used earlier. There is a chance that if I brought a cart here, it would raise by itself, but like I said, I didn't think of that in the moment. So I decided that the challenge is dead. But I wanted to carry on with a new set of rules. No bullets. Now, again, the power of hindsight. This is actually not really a challenge. There's more weapons in this game that don't use bullets than do, but I didn't know that. Had I, then I probably would have limited it further to something like explosives and crowbar only. But regardless, I'm going to be honest with you all, I didn't really enjoy playing this way. Not because the game is bad or the challenge was hard, but instead because all I was doing was sprinting from room to room hoping to not die. I didn't really get to explore or experience the tense sections of the soldiers showing up or the cool infighting. I just ignored it and ran hoping to not do an impersonation of Swiss cheese. It simply wasn't a fun way to play, and despite running a challenge run channel on YouTube, I still like to enjoy myself. So yeah, crowbar only is a no, but no bullets? Well, let's find out. After ascending to the top of the elevator shaft, there's a generator that is not so difficult to pass, then a couple of trip mines, which worked. I probably could have jumped or crouched under them on the track, but thanks to my newfound freedom, I decided to use a grenade. It still almost got me killed. A little later on, however, is a place that absolutely would have stopped me dead in my tracks, pun intended. 3 trip mines, no way to jump or crouch under them, the only thing I can do is set them off. A crowbar would do that too, but I don't know if I could survive 3 of them at max health and armor. I certainly wouldn't be able to while already half dead. And what follows is the final tunnel section with a machine gun encampment and a single grunt. With enough speed though, I managed to fly by them and then I was outside. And I encountered 2 more grunts who swiftly decided to put an end to the franchise. At first I thought I would use some nades, but before I could try, the guy from before was shooting me in the butt. So now I had a problem, locked between a rock and a hard place. So I very quickly placed a trip mine of my own which dealt with the first guy, then pulled the next 2 guards into more. This allowed me some breathing room to explore and hopefully get some health. It was great, until I was outside and there was a fucking sniper! Oh, come on, dude. Okay, I'm cool, it's alright. For whatever reason, I decided to try and do this without explosives, so I dove across the railing and hit the button, then struggled to actually close the door, but miraculously I made it in. But for like the 40th time in this run, I was stopped dead in my tracks by 3 more grunts. This situation, however, seemed rather impossible. They are guarding the way forward, and I have 5 health. There's no shot I can make it past their spray of bullets, and even if I somehow manage, I can almost guarantee there are things in that building that will also be trying to kill me. At one point, I jumped on a nearby turret to give them a taste of their own medicine, but I quickly remembered that this is in fact a gun which fires bullets. Don't worry though, the game quickly humbled me either way. So the only real option was to use explosives of my own, somehow managing to get all 3 of them on the 2 that I had placed, and it wasn't even close. Inside the building is a room filled with TNT and trip lasers that I assume detonate said TNT. I tried to throw a grenade and set it off myself, but this particular setup doesn't allow that. Instead, I set it off with my face. The solution is to very carefully push some crates around and then jump up and around the lasers. Easy game. Whatever, I shoot the rocket off, which I'm sure won't cause problems for anyone, then return to the very much so still alive grunts from the previous area. I get into the much stronger looking cart and head into the next chapter, Apprehension, where things immediately go off rail. Was that supposed to happen? You know, this is probably due to something like how these games weren't designed for higher frame rates, but it's still funny to me. The beginning of this level starts with this crashed underwater section, and what you're supposed to do is free some of these tanks so that you can use them as platforms, but I'm not sure how to do that. I hit it a couple times, honestly, because I thought it would explode and be funny, but that might have been what freed them. Then you have to swim through a very long tunnel section, and by that I mean it's long enough that you start to drown. This part might actually be impossible if you took fall damage or something before attempting it. I'm gonna need a bigger crowbar. So this lovely thing is known as the ichthyosaur, and I did try my hardest to bash its fishy brains in with my crowbar, and it actually went surprisingly well for like a minute. I managed to avoid a lot of its attacks, but in the end, a land animal was no match for a sea creature. Well, arrows aren't bullets, right? Surprisingly, you can fire this underwater, and that's weird, right? You can't fire a crossbow underwater, can you? Whatever, I make some sashimi, then raise the gate to continue on. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be difficult or not, but I managed to get past the crushers on my first try. No, really, I'm not making a joke, I did it. Though I will admit I was extremely disappointed when they didn't do the build engine pop and stress thing when enemies get squished. I then have to take a casual stroll through the freezer, which ultimately brings me to Barney, who has an important message for me, meaning he'll die before he can tell me. Damn, that's predictable in 2026, but maybe ahead of the curve in 1998, I don't know. This section has the assassins, who are these leather-clad women ready to kill Gordon, and what can I say aside from that he's a lucky dude. For some reason, I was under the impression that you had to kill them, so I placed a trip mine at the entrance to this little room, then quickly moved the boxes to give myself some cover while I stocked up on armor. However, channeling the real Doomwolf and avoiding the women altogether, I realized you could just run upstairs and throw the switch to open the door, then bail. Okay guys, couldn't take me in a crowbar and machine gun fight, huh? Had to trick me with health stations and knock me off from behind. Cowards. We awaken in a trash compactor, stripped of all my weapons, but not of my armor, strangely. Then the walls start to close in, but there was a stack of conveniently placed boxes allowing me to escape. And oh, would you look at that, a crowbar just sitting there. I was actually really happy to have my weapons taken away because I knew that Valve was a reputable company and wouldn't just say, okay, here's your crowbar, now go kill God. As such, things should be a bit easier until I recollect all my weapons. Thus begins Residue processing, and I was half right with that assumption. This level sees you trying to make your way through, well, processing plant, probably of Residue. The first part of it is more focused on platforming than combat. Oh yeah, this is gonna go great. So I haven't really mentioned it, the platforming isn't like bad, and while there were some sections that rely on it, like this one, it's not something that overstays its welcome, with no tricky narrow passages above instant death pits. Oh, I don't like that, Jane. There's a neat section where you have to throw some levers to control the direction of some conveyor belts, then push a button to stop the crusher so you can actually get by. Well, I say neat, it is, for like 1998. The hardest part is a section where you're on a conveyor belt that's really high up and you have to jump from one to another, but because the ground is moving, it makes it weirdly hard to actually do that and you end up falling. And the only way forward is through a small tunnel marked with a trip bomb, because of course it is. But all in all, the level is fairly short, and now we arrive at questionable ethics. Immediately, I am assaulted by half a dozen hound eyes, but that's what I stocked up on health and armor for. Oh look, an alien grunt. Good, they put him behind shatterproof glass. God, I'm stupid. I meet up with Barney again, and let me tell you, this Barney is the Giga Chad of Barneys, okay? Somehow, he single-handedly took down multiple soldiers. And I mean like 5 of them. It was going great until for whatever reason he decided to open the cage to a few headcrabs, and despite me trying to interfere, he ended up taking some damage. Which means unfortunately, the next grunt was able to take him down. Don't worry Barney, your sacrifice won't be in vain and you will always be remembered. I found my way to what appeared to be a server room with a door in the corner protected by trip bombs, so naturally I blow them up and this starts a grunt on grunt fight. I'm not sure if this was the right play or not, but I hid at the top of the stairs and used a couple trip bombs to dispatch whatever was left after the firefight. Did I need those 2 bombs? Probably not.
Down, it's a prototype. Man, why aren't we using it? It's much too unpredictable. Overcharge. What do you mean overcharge?
Okay, that was a pretty good introduction to a new weapon. This is the Tau cannon, and it fires laser beams made from depleted uranium-235, and I just realized with the amount of times I've said bombs plus talking about uranium, this video is going to get demonetized. Whatever, I have a railgun, bitches! Once you've atomized the guards, push this metal crate to stop the laser shield, then use said laser to punch a giant hole in the wall. If my high school physics teacher showed me this, I would have probably been in a very different line of work. Okay Jane, I don't need your sass right now. The last thing to do is parkour my way through the room with this dangerous surgical equipment. It was not difficult at all. I tried to get all 3 scientists to follow me, but it was weirdly difficult, like they kept stopping and saying, I won't go any further, and my legs are tired, wah wah wah, so I just took one. He was kind enough to open the door for me and I was on my way. I find it funny and kind of sad that I used the crowbar on the grunt and the super railgun cannon on the turret. Time for surface tension, and it is very accurate as we are on the surface, and believe me, there's many tension. The first set piece is this bridge that I bunny hopped across to my death. What you're actually supposed to do is bail into the water and climb into the silo. Then you can hit a button at the top to stop the turbines, and finally dive back into the water to turn a gear opening the way, all while being shot at by grunts, a helicopter, and getting bites taken out of you by an alien shark like you're a prime rib down at the local Golden Corral. As insane as it sounds, I actually managed to get Nemo stuck on the level geometry while opening the gate. I nearly drowned, but we livin', baby. Do you remember before when I said that this was my first time playing? Yeah, it's pretty apparent here as I'm wandering around outside getting shot at by an Apache attack helicopter while looking for super narrow passageways between rocks. After several attempts that were basically just me learning the layout, I found my way to the storm drain access valve, turned it, then made my escape with honestly kind of minimal injury. But now we come to the part that if you've played this game, you'd probably guess was the actual run killer. This section is on a cliffside with very little room to maneuver. There are many turrets, many grunts, and of course that wonderful 50 cal dickbag circling overhead. If I had somehow managed to make it this far truly crowbar only, I don't think I would have been able to get through this section. There's no place for cover, and because the walkways are so narrow, killing the grunts is pretty much required. I tried, I really did. I even thought to use the Tau Cannon's ult fire to kinda pseudo rocket jump, but in this case more like rocket soft land, and apparently you can do that in the multiplayer, but it just wasn't happening, so in the end I used the cannon to clear out the grunts and the turrets and proceeded normally until I found the rocket launcher. Now, I'm not sure if you have to kill the helicopter or not. I mean, this is clearly the intended way, but it's not like it crashes into the cliff and opens a path, so maybe you can just run from it? But even if I had tried, there's 2 decently long ladders and a couple jumps you have to make, and I don't think I could have. I'm fairly confident it would have gunned me down before I could escape. Then again, rockets aren't bullets, so it's fine. Challenge still intact, I guess. Okay, what's up here? Nope. Is that a tank over there? That's cool. Intimidating that they rolled it in and stuff. Oh god, it's functional! Okay, the game is officially just throwing everything at me at this point. There's a big compound in the middle of multiple minefields with snipers, aliens, and a couple of trip bombs for good measure. They did not want you to get into this place. I'll admit, it took me a minute to figure it out. What you're supposed to do is make your way over to this area, preferably while not being lit up by the sniper, and blow up these generators so that the tower is no longer electrified, then you can climb it. Dropping in is a scientist who tries to warn me about something, but I was busy breaking boxes so I couldn't hear him. I'm sure it's fine. Speaking of boxes, just gonna use this one to clear the bomb. Oh, I see. This place is a bomb factory that is booby-trapped with more bombs. Detonating any of these tripwires is the equivalent of getting a fast pass ticket straight to the afterlife. You remember that lesson about walking through crates? It's not necessary, but this is where it would have been useful. I actually think I did this section wrong. Like, I didn't even use the elevator on the other side of the room, instead opting to just jump on this railing, then boxes, then barrel, and finally over the main elevator grate. I mean, if it works, right? That weapon looks, wriggly. Barney and I once again team up, but we were caught off guard by a hidden turret. I tried to save him, but it was too late. This next section is really cool to see. Alien ships fly in and drop their grunts, but shortly after, an airstrike carpet bombs them into oblivion. Then soldiers show up and the fun's over. Hey Barn, what you got for me? So yeah, Barney unlocks the mother of all ammo depots. Too bad I can't use most of it, but it's a thought that counts. Hey, technically still not bullets. I hope the military has good funding because it costs $400,000 to fire this weapon for 12 seconds. Then again, it's bullets, so I had to rewind time. This area had a lot of vorts spawn in, so my first plan was to lure them around the corner and then just take off, which worked, until I was inside the vents getting torn to pieces by snarks. So I redid it and used satchels to take down the grunt and vort near the vent, then let the active snarks just blow themselves up. Knock knock, Gordon's home! I had to redo this section several times because it was another one of those where do I go and how do I get there with the least amount of scratches situations. Also, why does the ground have a butthole? I run into Barney again, but this isn't any ordinary Barney. No, this is main character Barney. Why do I say that? Because if he dies, it's game over. Subject failed to effectively utilize human assets in achievement of goal? What am I, a CEO? The reason why he can't die is because he is the one that knows the code to the door. I assume there's at least one other section of the game, that surgical bay area, where you need to escort someone and if they die, you lose. But this was the only time it came up for me. Guess the crowbar and grenades and sniper crossbows and super railguns are just baby easy mode or something. Sir, please, it wasn't me that scratched your car, I swear! Come here often? After definitely not being barbecued the first time, I call a friendly airstrike in on my Gargantua friend. He's so happy that he died. Time for Forget About Freeman, which is a BS title as they absolutely did not forget about Freeman. 50% of my time in this level is fighting vorts and grunts, and the other 50% is running away from snarks. These gears need to be painted gold, so I know that they are safe. That's not a joke about contemporary yellow paint mechanics in games, it's a Duke Nukem 3D reference. Okay, maybe it's both. Back outside, I miss the fresh air. Why does it smell like gunfire? This tank does have a machine gun on top of it, but funnily enough, you can easily outrange it, and then as long as you strafe back and forth, the main cannon can't hit you either. Alright, this has got to be one of the most dickish turret placements in any game ever. The last part of this level needs to be renamed Murder the Freeman because they sure tried. You have to use a tank to blow open a door, and then just an onslaught of vorts and grunts pour out. There's also an alien cannon that I don't know if it did anything, I didn't really stick around long enough to find out. Which finally brings me to the Lambda core, the goal I've had since the beginning. What mysteries will be answered here? Well, joke's on me, none of them, as this franchise went dormant for a long time and Valve still can't count to 3 anyway. There's another room with assassins, but I learned my lesson from the first time and just ran. Which I also tried to do in the next room with a bunch of grunts, but you have to fight these. There's a scientist who locks the door and won't open it until they're all dealt with. Took a bit of trial and error, especially because one of them spawns behind me, but I managed with the power of shrapnel. What is this Luigi's Mansion looking thing? Oh, I see. So this is the glue-on gun and it kind of vaporizes anything it touches. Which is great news because this next area is a load of crap. I'm told I need to restart the reactor, and in order to do that, I need to activate 2 coolant pumps. Okay, that's not so bad. What is bad is that there are grunts and vorts all over the place, and some of them respawn. Why? Why is that a thing? I mean, sure, the game has a convenient excuse for respawning, it just zaps in their military from some other section of the universe, but like, why? Actually activating the pumps is really easy, just walk up to it and turn a singular valve. Once you've done both, you activate the valves near the reactor core to flood the area and just ride the water up. But of course there are vorts and the now functioning reactor there to stop you, but this gun, the Hive Hand, comes in very useful here. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but the shots kinda home in, but more importantly it just refills its own ammo. That's right, it fires an infinite amount of bees. Some more fighting in hallways and now you're thinking with portals. You can see where they're going to take you, so you just have to make sure to land on the spinning platforms. It gets a bit more difficult at the top when there are walls that will push you off and a vertical moving platform that would dip you in radioactive waste, but like, just don't fall.
Jane, why you gotta show that?
Eventually, I make it through the Lambda complex and meet up with Jeff and Barney. They tell me there is something out there that I have to kill. Jeff will open the portal to the border world, then it's up to me. But first, he gives me the long jump module, a tool specifically created to traverse the border world. He told me to practice using it, but I don't know how. I had to Google this. I should have been tipped off because it's the long jump, so like, you know, Mario 64 crouch then jump immediately, but I'm pretty sure that the game didn't explain that to me. Some floating aliens called controllers spawn in and shoot homing fireballs, but they are no match for the laser beam of death. Jeff told me to wait until he gave the signal, but that looks ready enough to me. Premature resonance cascade. Happens to the best of us, Gordon. Or so I'm told. Waiting for the teleporter to warm up and be ready before diving headfirst in properly teleports me to the border world and the beginning of Zen. Listen, though I was but a small lad when the game came out, even I had heard tales of Zen and how it is basically the low point of the game. But I kinda don't fully agree with that. Yes, the platforming and waiting for things absolutely killed the pace, and it's kinda barren, but like, in an intentional way? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, I don't really mind it. If I had to rank the levels, it probably would go near the bottom, maybe at the bottom, I'm not sure, but like, even the worst burger is still better than the best salad, you know what I mean? Anyway, the first section involves waiting for moving platforms, then missing jumps so you fall and lose precious health. Inside the chestnut thing we are in are these upside down claw machines, and it took me far longer than I cared to admit to realize you have to interact with them to open them, and once you do, a little piece of paper flying around will get trapped inside and begin to emit a photon laser that opens the portal to the next area. Gonarch's lair? What the heck is a Gonarch? Oh, it's a giant head crab that definitely needs to go see a doctor. At first I tried to run away from the Gonarch and his massive Gonarchs, but turns out the path is blocked and the only way forward is to fight. But in classic old school game fashion, there's no real indicator that I'm hurting the boss. I mean, sure, blood comes out, but like, we've played older games. That's sometimes just a quirk of the engine, right? I'm not saying everything needs a health bar, but this thing didn't flinch, didn't wince, didn't anything. For a while, I thought all my explosions were doing were making it angry. After a couple minutes though, it did go and open the way, meaning I was either hurting it, or it was bored. The second arena is much smaller and has an instant death pit in the middle despite that material being the one I couldn't get through earlier. Okay game, whatever. Satchel charges must do a lot because the first phase only took like a minute, but this one took almost 3 times as long. I don't know, it's fine, except now I was running real low on ammo for everything that's not a gun. But that doesn't matter because I somehow glitched it and the Gonarch didn't follow me down. I wish this was the end, but I had to reload a checkpoint. Thankfully, there was some random ammo and health down here for whatever reason. Actually, no, not random, I guess this exact reason, and it was enough to take it down. Also, it spawns baby head crabs during the fight. It's not hard, just annoying. Thus begins Interloper. Oh, Interloper. I accidentally fell into one of the buttholes, which then launched me with the force of 1,000 Taco Bells into the sky, resulting in my death. This is not how I planned to go, but maybe there are worse ways? Oh fuck, my last save was before I killed the Gonarch. Okay, let's do it again. This time I don't die in a questionable manner and realize the blue goo can heal me, meaning that statement in Zen about fall damage is null and void, but oh well. The rest of this section is really easy, but it's also really boring. You have to ride one of the spikes way into the sky, and when you get there, drop down onto a moving platform, and after you've gone far enough down that it won't kill you, drop onto one of the flying ships, which you then ride over to the teleporter. That was the easy part. The second part of this level has you fighting about 1 million alien grunts, but don't worry, it can be far less as long as you don't mess up. I'll get to that. The Hive Ant actually works fairly well against them, and exceptionally so against the controller enemies because they just float around. There's another Gargantua here, but I can literally Mario long jump, so I'm not worried about him catching up to me. The final leg of this level is the tough part. You're inside a huge, I'm not sure, alien factory, grunt daycare? So it looks like a factory, but there are these suspicious barrel-looking things everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. I don't know if all of them have grunts stored inside, but all the ones I broke did. Fortunately, thanks to this type of challenge and the fact that I was running low on all explosives, that didn't happen very often. Hey, you get out of there! You can't have infinite health, only I can have infinite health! Those blue healing pod things are also kinda everywhere, and I think that's part of the reason why people don't like this level. Because if you get hurt, you know you could just go stand in one like I do, but it takes an eternity to get healed back up. Just the waiting. Like, I'm a patient person, but I'm literally just sitting here when I could be saving the world. This hallway in particular can royally screw you. There are controllers and vorts hanging around and like a dozen grunt eggs, so one misplaced shot and you're suddenly fighting an army. Oh, and just to top it off, there's weird spinny platforms that have strange physics when you jump off of them, and lightning hit scanners at the top. It's a good time. Interloper is so fun. But if you can push through and ascend to the very top, you'll be teleported to a place in the abyss, with what is clearly the evil final teleporter, and you can tell that because it is red and has pointy spikes. Nihilanth, both the name of this level and the paralysis demon baby floating above. This is the final boss, and at first I tried just attacking it, but I realized at some point it would occasionally look at a crystal and get a bunch of orbs from it, and I realized it was pulling a System Shock 2. Wait, which game came out first? Put them on screen, Jan, and if I'm right, leave that in. If not, cut it, don't make me look stupid. One of its attacks is actually a teleport that sends you into an upside down beehive thing, complete with weird gravity and spawning enemies. It's not a big deal, but like everything else in the border world, it just wastes time. Weirdly enough though, you can actually shoot down the teleporter balls. I don't know if that's like intentional or the fact I'm playing this game in 2026 on something that's not a potato. Regardless, it's clear the crystals need to be destroyed to actually hurt the boss in a meaningful way, and thankfully on normal it only takes 2 rockets. Once they're gone, just keep blasting away at them and eventually you will have killed that which cannot die, or something. I definitely did think about ending the fight with a crowbar, but without knowing how many hits it was away from death, I didn't risk it. Oh hey. It's you. Finally showed your face, huh? Well, you're lucky my crowbar is missing. What's that? You say you'll offer me employment or put me in an unwinnable situation? What's the difference? Hey everyone, thanks for watching this week's video. This was a lot of fun. It was a very fun time to finally get to play Half-Life, you know, after having years of my life being told, oh, this game is amazing, you definitely need to play it, and yeah, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it, especially after I dropped the whole crowbar thing. I tried. I did. I was like, man, I started this challenge as crowbar only. I wanted to finish it, but I don't think I could have made it through that section with the helicopter. But even before that, that one area with like the 3 trip mines, yeah, I'm pretty sure you couldn't survive that. Like if you walked up, even with maybe with full health and full armor, but there's no way I was gonna get to that point. But it was a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I did this, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll do Half-Life 2 like this. People want to see that, then maybe. Yeah, look forward to more random stuff like this. And look, we have our this week's champion, Hunter W. Congratulations.